I welcome you all, my dear students. In the last video, we were discussing about the origin of chordates and basic plan of the chordates. So, in the last lecture, it was not the direct starting of the syllabus, but it was just an introductory explanation so that it's very easy for you all to understand. ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಒಂದು ಬೇಸ್ ಹಾಕ್ಲಾರ್ದಂಗೆ ಮನೆ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ ಹೆಂಗಾಗತ್ತೆ ಹಂಗಾಗಬಾರ್ದು ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದೇ ಇಶ್ಯೂಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಗಿವನ್ ದಟ್ ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್ ಸೀರೀಸ್. ಫ್ರಮ್ ಟುಡೇ from this video, we are going to start the lecture series, that is the first chapter as per the VSKUB syllabus, Geology second semester is concerned. The first chapter goes in this way: general characters and organization of chordates and brief classification up to the classes. So idaralli general characters of the chordates anna nodkonta hogtivi. Adada mele the classification of the chordates, the outline classification of the chordates. So this is for the 2 hours, but will complete within known time. General characters ಅಥವಾ basic body plan ಬಗ್ಗೆ in the last lecture video I had discussed. That is the presence of notochord, presence of dorsal, tubular, hollow, single nerve cord, presence of pharyngeal gill slits, and presence of post-anal tail. So these were the 4 major or the important points or the basic body plan that a chordate must satisfy in order to call any organism as a chordate. So in this video, we are going to discuss about the general characters and the classification of the chordates. So chordate is a 10th phylum of the animal kingdom. So first 8 phylums bandidave, excluding the protozoa: Porifera, Coelenterata, Aschelminthes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata. Echinodermata ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ phylum Chordata ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. This Chordata is again divided into subphylums. The subphylums are again divided into superclasses into the classes into the orders. ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ BSc level ಗೆ orders ತನಕ you have to discuss. But outline classification ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ up to the classes ಅನ್ನು ನಾನು ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. Each classes ಅನ್ನ, that is the reptilia, aves, mammalia ಮತ್ತೆ ಫಿಶಸ್ ಏನು ಓದ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೀರಿ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯು ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಆರ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್, ಮೇಜರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫೈಲಮ್ ವರ್ಟಿಬ್ರೇಟಾ. ಸೊ ಮೈ ಡಿಯರ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ಇಫ್ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಎನಿ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್, ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ವಿಡಿಯೋ, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಸ್ಕ್ ಮೀ, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮೇಲ್ ಮಿ ಆಸ್ ಯೂಶುವಲ್. ನಾನು ಆಗ್ಲೇ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀನಿ, ವಿಡಿಯೋಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಎಂದು ಓಡಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಡ್ರಿ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನಾಟ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ರೈಟ್ ವೇ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ವಿತ್ ದೀಸ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ದ lecture. Well, see to the slide. There are 11 general characters of the phylum Chordata. One is presence of notochord. Na helide nimige, the notochord in the last video helide, the notochord is a tubular structure, a tubular pipe-like structure which extends from the anterior to the posterior part of the body, and it is present in between the alimentary canal, that is gut, and the nerve cord. Nerve cord matte gut nadave there is a notochord. This notochord is made up of the cartilage. However, in the higher chordates, that is the vertebrates, there is a higher ossification of the cartilage and forms the bony vertebral column. So they are called as the vertebral column or the backbone. So presence of the notochord is one major general character of the chordates. Second, presence of pharyngeal gill slits. These pharyngeal gill slits or the pharyngeal gill clefts are present at the lateral sides of the organisms. Namigilla, I know you can see namigilla, but that doesn't mean that we are not chordates. Hanganlikagalla. So in any stage of the development, whether in the embryonic stage or in any stage of the life history of an organism, if those organisms possess all the 4 major general character of the chordate, then they are considered as chordates. So when we were in the embryonic stage, we had pharyngeal gill slits, but due to the terrestrial mode of life or something, some evolutionary aspects, we have lost the pharyngeal gill slits. That doesn't mean that we are not chordates. So that you have to understand. So the third point is presence of dorsal tubular nerve cord. In case of invertebrates, the nerve cord was there. It was solid, double, and was present at the ventral side. But in case of chordates, it is towards the dorsal side. Backbone namige nerve cord, that is the spinal cord namige ille back side, that is to the dorsal side ide, ventral kade illa. So it is towards the dorsal. It is tubular, that is it is tubular, and it is single. So this is the major difference between the nerve cord of the invertebrates and vertebrates, that is chordates. So fourth point is triploblastic conditions. Of course, you have seen in the trend of the germ layers in the invertebrates. Explain madabekadaga. Diploblastic condition in the triploblastic condition ಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಹೋಯಿತು, and once the triploblastic condition has started in the invertebrates, that has continued, and all the chordates are triploblastic. That is, their body is made up of 3 germ layers, that is outer ectoderm, inner endoderm, middle mesoderm. So these 3, having the 3 germ layers, ectoderm, endoderm and middle mesoderm, is nothing but the triploblastic condition. And development of true coelom. In all the chordates, the true coelom is present, that is all are eucoelomates, or they possess true coelom. It develops from the mesoderm. The coelom is developed by the enterocoelic method. So enterocoelic method antandre, you have to understand the different ways of the mesoderm heng origin aitu antakanta. There are some theories. Aa theories ge hoಗಬೇಕು, ಅಷ್ಟು ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೋಗತಕ್ಕಂತ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ as per the BSc level is concerned. The presence of bilateral symmetry. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ definitions ನಾವು ಆಗಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದೀವಿ. So again it's just a repetition. So body of the chordates show bilateral symmetry, that is the body can be cut into 2 equal halves passing through the central plane in any one direction. In any one plane ಒಳಗಡೆ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ body can be divided into 2 halves. ಯಾವುದೋ ಆಂಗಲ್ ನ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ body cannot be divided into 2 equal halves. So that is what bilateral symmetry says. Then reduction of metameric segmentation. This is interesting. Many of the students, many of the people have the doubts whether humans after annelida ಒಳಗಡೆ ಓದಿದ್ರಿ. What? The annelidans are those organisms which possess metameric segmentation, that is the body is divided into repeating regular somites ಅಂತ ಓದಿದ್ರಿ. ಹೈಯರ್ ಆರ್ಗಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಆರ್ಥ್ರೋಪೋಡ ಒಳಗಿತ್ತ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಎಸ್ ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಎಕೈನೋಡರ್ಮೆಟಾ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಕಾರ್ಡೇಟ್ಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ, ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಮೆಟಾಮೆರಿಕ್ ಸೆಗ್ಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಇದೆನಾ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನೋ ವಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ನೋ, ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್. ಆಲ್ ದ ಹೈಯರ್ ಆರ್ಗಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ above the annelida, annelida ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ annelida, arthropoda, mollusca, echinodermata, chordates, vertebrates, reptiles, aves, mammals ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ we have metameric segmentation. That is, ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, among the chordates metamerism is seen in the internal structures. The myomeres, that is the metameres ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿರೋದ, they are the muscle blocks, that is we call them as myomeres, are seen in the lower chordates, and segmentation is seen in the embryonic conditions of the higher vertebrates. So that is what I say, we all are metamerically segmented organisms. That doesn't mean that ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹೊರಗಡೆಯಿಂದ ನಮಗೆ metamerism ಕಾಣಿಸಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ತಕ್ಷಣ we doesn't mean that we are not metamerically segmented. We are, but that cannot be seen externally ಅಷ್ಟೇ. So then the heart is present towards the ventral side. In place of invertebrates, the heart was towards the dorsal side, but in case of chordates, it is towards the ventral side. There is a special system called as hepatic portal system. So this hepatic portal system is exclusively restricted with respect to the chordates. The hepatic portal system is not seen in case of invertebrates. So hepatic portal system is seen only in case of chordates. And interestingly, there are red blood corpuscles. So RBCs invertebrates ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇದಾವ? Yes. I mean, ಇನ್ನೂ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಬಂತು. If you hit any invertebrate, some organisms show red blood. Even the chordates show the red blood. the major difference with respect to the hemoglobin, which is the red coloring pigment to the blood, is in case of invertebrates, the hemoglobin is present in the plasma. But in case of chordates, the hemoglobin is present in the RBCs. Hence, the RBCs imparts the color to the blood, but not the plasma. But in case of invertebrates, the red color of the blood is due to the presence of hemoglobin in the plasma. So this is the major difference between the chordates and the chordates and the non-chordates. So these are some general characters. Of course, differences bರ್ತವೆ. In almost majority of the chordates are sexually reproducing. Sometimes there is a larval stage in case of protochordates, but in higher chordates, there is higher vertebrates, there is no larval forms. That is, the development is direct. So ಈ ತರ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು general characters ಇದಾವೆ. So the major general characters that we have discussed in this slide. So in the next slide, we are going to discuss the outline classification of the chordates. So dear students, in this slide, we will discuss about the outline classification of the chordates. So the chordates is majorly subdivided into two subphylums, that is Protochordata and Vertebrata. So Protochordata are it is that subphylum where the notochord is persistent. Normally, generally in all the vertebrates, that is in chordates, there is a presence of notochord anta. Our notochord, whole of the lifetime, if it is persistent, then they are called as protochordates. Contrasting to that, subphylum Vertebrata. Vertebrata ಒಳಗಡೆ, the notochord is replaced by the bony structure called as the backbone or the vertebral column. So notochord ಇರೋ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ vertebral column ಅಥವಾ backbone ಇತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, all they are placed under the subphylum Vertebrata. So Protochordata are those organisms where the notochord is persistent throughout their lifetime. In case of subphylum Vertebrata, the notochord which was seen in Protochordata is replaced by the bony vertebral column or the backbone. So this is the major difference between the notochord, that is the Protochordata, and Vertebrata. Well, this subphylum Protochordata is again divided into two classes, that is Urochordata and Cephalochordata. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮಿಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ, Hemichordata. Example is Balanoclassus. ಯಾಕೆ ಇದರ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, recently the Hemichordata is considered as a 9th phylum of invertebrata but not a part of Protochordata. ನೀವು ಹಳೆ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ತೆಗೆದು ನೋಡಿದ್ರಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೇನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, Hemichordata is seen as it is placed in as a class of the Protochordata. That is, Protochordata has 4 ಅಂತ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾನೆ. Hemichordata, Urochordata, Cephalochordata ಅಂತ 3 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. Hemichordata, Urochordata, Cephalochordata. But in the recent books ಅಥವಾ revised editions ಒಳಗಡೆ, you can see that Hemichordata as the 9th phylum of the invertebrata. Protochordata ಒಳಗಡೆ you have only two, that is Urochordata and Cephalochordata. Urochordata, as the name indicates, euro style, euro ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಬಾಲ, tail ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. That is, in Urochordates, the notochord is restricted towards the tail region. ನಾ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೆ, from the anterior to the posterior part of the body, there is elongated notochord ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಆದರೆ in case of Urochordata, the notochord is restricted only towards the tail part. Hence the name Urochordata. ಅದರ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದಿದೆ ನೋಡಿ, Cephalochordata ಅಂತ. What is cephalo? Cephalo means head. Chordata, that is a notochord restricted only towards the cephalic part or towards the head, is called as Cephalochordata. So Urochordata ಮತ್ತೆ Cephalochordata. So these two are the part of the Protochordata. One best example of the Urochordata is Ascidia, Hardamania, etc. Cephalochordata, one of the best classifiable example is Amphioxus. That is a lancet anta heltivi. So adelladra ಬಗ್ಗೆ discuss ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗೋಣಂತೆ next videos ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ. So it's just outline classification, remember that. In the subphylum Vertebrata, it is majorly subdivided into two. Subphylum Agnatha and Gnathostomata. Ili Gnathos, Gnathos, Gnathos antandre, that is the jaw anta artha. That is the presence of jaw. Agnatha or Agnatha, that is organisms where there is no jaws. But the bye hengirtade, it is rounded suctorial, just like a opening of the vacuum cleaner. And this Agnatha is again divided into ostracodermy and cyclostomata. Ostracodermy are completely extinct today. We don't have any living example where this organism can be placed under ostracodermy. We don't have any living example for the ostracodermy. But this ostracodermy gives the ostracoderms just look like a fishes, but there is a large bony armor which covers the organism. Bony covering ide. So this bony covering, mouth iro jagadalli there is a bony covering, whole the body is heavily armored organisms are ostracoderms. But they were very much flourished in the Devonian era and the early Devonian and the later Devonian, Cretaceous tanka ittu. After that it is absolutely extinct today. We don't have any example of the ostracodermy. But we have living examples of cyclostomes. Cyclostomata. Cyclostomata is again divided into Petromyzontia and Myxinoidea. Next examples of the cyclostomes are hagfishes, that is the myxine and Petromyzon. So cyclostomes, cyclos, rounded mouth. The mouth of the cyclostomes, if you see, it exactly look like a opening of the vacuum cleaner. So they have a suctorial mouth. Adunu kuda nan discuss ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ. Next examples ಬರಬೇಕಾದಾಗ I'll discuss about the general characters of the cyclostomes. So ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ನಾನು ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. Agnatha ಒಳಗಡೆ ಎರಡು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ, that is ostracodermy and cyclostomata. Coming to the gnathostomata. Gnathos means yes, presence of jaw. That is gnathostomata. This gnathostomata is again divided into two superclasses called as superclass Pisces, superclass Tetrapoda. As you know that superclass Pisces means fishes. Superclass Pisces is again divided into three: Placodermy, Chondrichthyes, Ostichthyes. Pronunciation changes agate one person to another, that's apart. So Pisces is again divided into Placodermy, Chondrichthyes, Ostichthyes. Placodermy is again an extinct class. We don't have any living example of placoderms. Of course, placoderms were the fishes. They had the vertebral column. They had true jaws, but they also contained the high bony armors present on their body. And these placoderms are absolutely extinct today. So hangagi fossil records idave. That doesn't mean that they are living. Chondrichthyes or the cartilaginous fishes. All those fishes where the internal skeleton is made up of cartilage but not the bone. So that is cartilaginous fishes. That is Chondrichthyes. Ostichthyes, they are also called as bony fishes. Those fishes where you can see the internal skeleton in the form of bones. The ossified cartilage, that is the bone. Chondrichthyes example, that is the shark, hammer-headed fishes, then electric eels. Not electric eels. That is electric torpedoes, stingray, etc. Ostichthyes, that is the bony fishes. Best examples are all the Indian major carps that you have studied. Catla, Labio, Cimrigala, Clarius, Patricus, Exocetus, Seahorse. All these are examples of bony fishes. So this is superclass Pisces divided into Placodermi, Chondrichthyes and Osteichthyes classes. Coming to the superclass Tetrapoda. See, ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಬಹಳ ಈಸಿ. ನೇಮ್ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಟೆಟ್ರಾ 4, ಪೋಡೋಸ್ ಲೆಗ್ಸ್ 4 ಕಾಲಿರುವ ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳು, ಟೆಟ್ರಾಪೋಡಾ. This tetrapoda is again divided into 4 classes, namely Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves and Mammalia. Amphibia are those organisms, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಉಭಯವಾಸಿಗಳು, ಉಭಯ ಜೀವಿಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. They can live both on land and water. Reptilia are exclusively terrestrial. Aves are completely modified for the aerial mode of life. Mammalia are the advanced species of the phylum Chordata, subphylum Chordata. So Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves, Mammalia ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ lower classes ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ. The interesting fact about this Amphibia is these amphibians are the first to come out of the water aquatic environment and to adapt themselves for the terrestrial mode of life. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಆಂಫಿಬಿಯಾ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಲಂಗ್ ಫಿಶಸ್ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ತವೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಫೈಸಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಲಂಗ್ ಫಿಶಸ್ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ತವೆ. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಲಂಗ್ ಫಿಶಸ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ they were the first organisms to come out of the water body and to live on the land for considerable amount of time. Not completely agi terrestrial ಗೆ ಬಂದಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ, but they lived on the terrestrial land for considerable amount of time. ಅದರಿಂದ ಆಂಫಿಬಿಯಾ ಜನರೇ ಬಂತು ಅಂತ, ಎವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆದವು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. Amphibians, though they are aquatic and also terrestrial. ಕಪ್ಪೆಗಳು ನೋಡಿರಬಹುದು, ಕಪ್ಪೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ 2 ತರ ಬರ್ತವೆ, frogs and toads. So frogs are more terrestrial, toads are more aquatic. ಆದರೆ see, interestingly, all the amphibians, they have to go back to the water body for the reproduction. ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಕಪ್ಪೆ ನೀರಿನ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಮೊಟ್ಟೆ ಇಡಬೇಕೆ ಹೊರತು ಟೆರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ ಮೋಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಮರದ ಮೇಲೆ, ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಭೂಮಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಮೊಟ್ಟೆ ಇಡಲ್ಲ. So they have to go back to the water body for reproduction. That means they know that where they have come from. So interesting animal kingdom. So this is all about the outline classification of the phylum Chordata. Example of amphibia is frogs and toads and salamander, etc. Reptilia ke ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು examples ಬರ್ತವೆ. All the different lizards, crocodiles and snakes, ophidia. All these are example of reptilia. Aves ಒಳಗಡೆ all major birds, ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು birds ಇದಾವೆ. Mammalia ಒಳಗಡೆ there are different orders including aquatic. Two major different aspect of the mammalians are Cetacea, that is the organisms of those mammals which have adapted for again back to the aquatic life. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು flying mammals, that is the only flying mammal, that is bat. So these are examples of the mammalia. Hopefully you have understood the outline classification of the kingdom Animalia. That is kingdom phylum Chordata. Phylum Chordata is divided into 2: Protochordata, Vertebrata. Protochordata ಒಳಗಡೆ 2 ಬರ್ತವೆ: Urochordata, Cephalochordata. Hemichordata itu now it is placed as a 9th phylum of the invertebrates. So Urochordata example is Herodamania and Ascidia. Cephalochordata example is Amphioxus. Vertebrata ಒಳಗಡೆ again divided into 2, that is Agnatha and Gnathostomata. Agnatha organisms having no jaws, that is the jawless organisms. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ Ostracodermi, Cyclostomata. Ostracodermi is completely extinct now. Cyclostomata has 2 living orders, that is Myxinoidea and Petromyzontia. Petromyzon ಮತ್ತು Myxine are the examples. Gnathostomata are those organisms where they have 2 jaws. They are again divided into 2 classes, that is superclass Pisces, superclass Tetrapoda. Superclass Pisces is again divided into 3 classes, that is Placodermi, Chondrichthyes and Osteichthyes. Placodermi is again a extinct class. Chondrichthyes is nothing but they are also called as the cartilaginous species. Example is sharks. Ostrichthys, they are also called as the bony fishes. Best examples are many carps. Tetrapoda, as the name indicates, they have 4 podos, that is 4 legs, 2 hind limbs and 2 forelimbs. They are again divided into amphibia, reptilia, aves and mammalia. Amphibians, they can live on both land and water. Of course, this statement is skewed. If I say they live both on land and water antandre, I don't think this word is, it fits into the quality of the level of a degree. UG level alli ee ondu sentence na use madabeku. Whether the quality of the sentence fits into the level of BSc anta eno nanige gottilla, but still ಸಣ್ಣವರಿದ್ದಾಗಿಂದ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೇ ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಂತ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಾ. Amphibia means they live both on land and water. No, they are not. They directly doesn't live on both land and water. They can survive themselves in both the habitat. ಹಂಗೆ ಹೇಳಬಹುದು. So reptilia are first organisms on this earth to exclusively adapt themselves for the terrestrial mode of life. Aves, they are adapted for the aerial mode of life. Mammalia are the advanced organisms as per this phylum Chordata is concerned. Interestingly, the Mammalia is advanced yake antandre they contain, Mammalia is a class to which humans belong. So humans irodrinda Mammalia is considered as the advanced class of the phylum Chordata. So this is about the general outline classification of the phylum Chordata. Thank you. Well, my dear students, in today's class we had discussed about the general characters of the phylum Chordata. Adadmele outline classification of the Chordata nu discuss madidvi. So if you have any doubts, questions, clarifications with regards to this, mure slide idave. So this was the first chapter. If you have any doubts, questions, clarifications with regards to this, feel free to ask. You have my mail ID, which is on the first slide. You can see, you can mail me. If you have my contact number, you can contact me. Illa, I want to ask questions in person antandre, wait for the lockdown to lift up. Once the lockdown is lifted and the offline classes start aitu anta takshana, I will be available. You can ask me at any time. So hope the video is useful for you all. Channel ida YouTube channel anna subscribe ಮಾಡಿ, like ಮಾಡಿ. So if any of your students need these information, you can share the video for them also. So thank you one and all. Thank you, my dear students.